The UFC is full of incredible athletes pulling off feats that the average human not even begin to imagine doing in an actual combat situation. From high kicks to flying knees, all the way to a flurry of fists, the UFC gives us the ultimate well of fighting competition. Recently, we were treated to the long-awaited return of a particularly popular Australian fighter back to the ring, only for the bout to be cut short. Today's video, we'll be taking a look at Jimmy Crute's return to the ring and what went wrong. You're not going to want to miss a second of this video, so without further ado, let's get right into it. First, let's look into Jimmy Crute's UFC history. Jimmy Crute hails from Australia and comes from a long line of violent family members that have excelled in all types of professional fighting. His parents were both boxers, and their parents before were also thrived in the ring during their lifetime. Jimmy began his training in fighting and karate when he was 4 years old, eventually moving on to judo when he turned 8, then eventually graduating on to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu by the time he turned 11. It wasn't until shortly after he started Jiu-Jitsu that he found MMA, and he had been in love ever since. Crute began training in the sport from then on and made his pro debut in the Octagon at age 19. Crute has seen much success during his time in the Octagon, sporting a record of 12-3 with his most recent loss coming in his most recent fight. This past bout was an important one for Crute and his team, but what made it so important? Next up, UFC 261. On April 24th, 2021, Crute was slated to be the first match on the main card at UFC 261 in Jacksonville, Florida. Crute was set to fight against fellow light heavyweight Johnny Walker. However, he elected to pull out of the fight due to a chest injury. A few months before the fight, the UFC put Crute against Anthony Smith in place of Walker, and finally the stage was set. Crute was walking into the fight as the favorite, as at the time he had a 12-1 record and was coming off a 2-fight win streak. Smith, on the other hand, carried a 35-16 and had lost 2 of his last 3 fights prior to the bout with Crute. None of that ended up deciding the match, as after a back-and-forth first round, the fight had to be stopped by the doctors after examining Crute's leg following the bell to end the first round. Turned out Crute had suffered a serious injury following a leg kick delivered by Smith. The kick caused Crute to suffer an injury known as foot drop, which is when the muscles in the lower leg become paralyzed. People who suffer from foot drop cannot lift their foot with their ankle and cannot control the movement of their toes. Usually also causes a gait problem, which severely impairs the victim's walking ability. This not only stopped the fight at UFC 261, but it also sidelined Crute for the next several months. Up next, the long-awaited return. Crute was forced to undergo vigorous rehab in order to repair the injury suffered at UFC 261. Crute began as soon as he was medically allowed to, and it took him many months to get to training shape, but sure enough, after months of pain and hard work, he got there. Shortly after, Crute was slated to be on the main card of UFC on ESPN, Font versus Aldo as the 4th fight, battling against fellow light heavyweight Jamahal Hill. Despite coming off an injury, Crute was still the heavy favorite going into the match, as his 12-2 record outshone Hill's record of 8-1. However, the prior records did not seem to play a factor in this fight. Two warriors began the bout with a showing of respect, electing to slap hands at the beginning of the match. This was essentially the only contact that Crute made with Hill the whole fight. Both fighters began the match swinging, with both fighters landing nothing of significance in the first 20 seconds. However, shortly after the 20-second mark, Hill landed a huge right hook to Crute's face, sending him to his knees. Crute quickly bounced up and repositioned himself, however, making it seem like this fight was still far from over. Unfortunately for Crute and his fans, that was not the case, as roughly 20 seconds after Hill caught Crute with the right hook, Hill caught Crute with the same move, which ended up dropping Crute to the mat, resulting in the ref ending the fight right then and there. This was a spoiled homecoming for the returning and favored Australian, who many predicted to win his first match back from injury against a lower-ranked opponent. Obviously, we all know now that this did not turn out to be the case, and now Crute finds himself 12-3 following his latest defeat, and Hill finds himself 9-1 following his victory. So what did the UFC world have to say following the Hill versus Crute fight? Hill was quick to show respect for his opponent, saying that Crute is a tough dude and that he is incredibly talented. Hill was also quick to tell his haters that they got him wrong and that Hill is gunning for a spot to be one of the next best light heavyweight fighters in the UFC. Hill said, "Everybody who picked me to lose, everybody just doubted me. I don't know why. What are y'all seeing?" In an interview following the bout, Hill's nickname in the UFC is Sweet Dreams, and after his performance on December 4th, it is evident as to why. Hill has won 5 of his 9 wins by knockout, which gives him a 55% knockout rate, which is absolutely insane. Furthermore, the majority of his knockouts are by punches rather than kicks or knees or elbows, which also seems to add to the nickname Sweet Dreams. Hill also was quick to call out his next opponent, which was fellow light heavyweight Paulo Costa. Hill also added that if Costa was not available to fight, that he would be open to a fight between Crute's original matchup at UFC 261, Johnny Walker. Crute was obviously not impressed by his performance, and we will see what his next move is in regards to his career, hopefully soon, as he's not currently scheduled for another bout anytime soon. 24-year-old is sure to be in the Octagon again soon, and hopefully can find himself in the win column again very soon. Now in other UFC news. On December 11th, UFC will be treated to a high-profile bout between Dustin Poirier and Charles Oliveira as they square off at UFC 269 in Las Vegas, Nevada. However, recently we have discovered from Charles Oliveira's coach that Poirier has been wary of his opponent's specialty, which is of course the ground game. Oliveira's coach Diego Lima has stated that the Diamond is very afraid of the Brazilian ground combat style that Oliveira possesses, and that he'll be doing everything he can to stay away from the ground. Honestly, this seems like a scare tactic to me, as Oliveira is looking to defend his title against one of the UFC's best fighters. Oliveira is an amazing fighter, and he's only lost 8 times in 39 matches. But supposedly, Poirier has only lost 6 times in his 34 matches, and add to that, Poirier has only been submitted on the ground twice in his entire career. So even if Poirier is scared of the ground game, he does tend to stay away from it naturally and let his fists and feet do the talking. Oliveira has won his last 9 bouts, while Poirier has won 8 fights in his last 11, including 2 fights with Conor McGregor, which he won both of them. This is certainly going to be a fight for the ages, and I cannot wait to see who comes out on top following their fight this Saturday. Personally, if I had to predict the winner, I'd have to go with Oliveira. His speed and power with his fists and feet will definitely be enough for him to hold his own on his feet, and I do believe that his skill on the ground is pretty much unmatched in the UFC, and if Poirier finds himself on the mat, he might find himself in trouble. And again though, Poirier is currently the 5th ranked pound-for-pound fighter overall in the UFC, so it'll certainly be an interesting matchup. That's the video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Did you watch Crute's return to the Octagon? What did you think of the fight? And when do you think Crute will return to the ring? Who could his possible opponents be, and who do you have winning the high-profile bout between Poirier and Oliveira? Whatever you have to say, let us know in the comments section below. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider leaving a like of the video and subscribing to the channel. It's free to you, only takes a few seconds, and it tremendously helps out the channel. Thanks again. We hope to see you all in the next video.